In a small mining town called RS, there stood an old house built in 1906. The house, 2 stories tall and weathered with time, seemed to hide secrets within its creaking walls. Just down the street loomed a dilapidated hospital, long since abandoned. The air around the house was heavy with the weight of its history, and the atmosphere was thick with something unspoken, something ominous. Late at night, as they lay in bed, the stillness of the room was shattered by a faint tapping noise. It came from the far end of the wall, slow at first, but each tap grew louder, creeping closer to the head of the bed. The sound seemed to have a life of its own, echoing through the silence, amplifying the unease that settled in the room. The tapping soon escalated into something more sinister. 5 loud, rhythmic bangs reverberated through the concrete wall. The noise began faintly, then crashed like a wave, stopping just inches from where they lay, paralyzed with fear. The wall seemed to vibrate with each impact, shaking the sense of safety they once felt in their own home. From under the bed came a new sound, one that defied explanation. It started as an angry cat's hiss, but quickly morphed into a guttural, human-like groan. The noise was low and deep, as if it came from something not quite of this world, leaving them frozen, their heart pounding in their chest. Desperate for protection, they turned to old rituals, painting symbols with an oil mixture on the walls, windows, and doors. The dim light cast flickering shadows, and for a moment, the symbols seemed to pulse with a faint, unearthly glow, as though some unseen force watched them from the darkness. Night after night, footsteps echoed through the hallway, growing louder with each pass. The invisible presence ran up and down the hall, stopping outside the closed doors of their siblings' rooms. The floorboards creaked under the weight of unseen feet, and the flickering hallway light only added to the growing sense of dread. The closet door in their room wasn't spared. It began to rattle, a steady tapping sound coming from within. The doorknob trembled as though someone was trapped inside, seeking a way out. The air turned thick, heavy with the fear of what might be hiding just beyond that thin wooden door. G, their sister, tried her own methods to confront the entity. She set up a ritual, candles in every direction, the room filled with a solemn quiet. She spoke to the darkness, demanding answers, but the air around her grew heavier, charged with a silent energy that seemed to mock her efforts. When they finally gathered the courage to search the basement, they found something disturbing. A small pile of their missing items, watches, jewelry, trinkets, all lay in the center of the cold concrete floor. It was as if someone, or something, had been collecting them all along. One night, they dreamt of a shape, a black mass with hollow eyes, crawling out from beneath their bed. It moved with twisted, unnatural jerks, and those eyes, those empty, soulless eyes, seemed to lock onto them. The nightmare felt more real than any dream, as though the creature was pulling itself straight from their subconscious into the waking world. In the basement, they found the remnants of a shattered candle glass. Oddly, the candle base still sat undisturbed on a nearby shelf. The distance between the broken glass and its base defied logic, hinting that some unseen force was playing with their reality. The study held a strange sight, a teacup and plate, placed precisely in the doorway. Nothing else in the room was orderly, yet this small arrangement seemed deliberate, as if set by an invisible hand. It felt like a silent message, a quiet taunt from the unseen presence that lurked within the house. In the darkened study, they saw a tall black shadow, formless and featureless, slipped into view, only to vanish again into the darkness. It left behind no trace, no sound, just the creeping sensation that the shadows themselves were alive and watching. Their mother insisted the entity wasn't malevolent. She spoke of it almost lovingly, as if it were a harmless presence. But even as she said those words, the shadows seemed to stretch closer to her, their darkness almost whispering in the corners of the room. On one final night, a bright blue orb appeared in the living room, floating slowly from floor to ceiling. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a ghostly melody that drifted from the study. As the orb faded, the front door handle jiggled, as if someone or something was trying to enter. Caught on video was a chilling sight, a hand dragging down the curtain in slow, deliberate motion. The hand seemed translucent, ghostly, and moved as though guided by an unseen force. The sight left an indelible mark, one that stayed with them long after they looked away. In the bathroom stood a figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing, washing its face at the sink. Its appearance was almost human, but the longer they stared, the more distorted its features became. The puffy white sleeves and the twisted face seemed like a relic of another time, lost and out of place. As they looked deeper into the darkness, the entity finally showed its true form. A grotesque face appeared, twisted with agony, its eyes empty and soulless. Within its face, another face seemed to emerge, a face with a mouth like a black hole, devouring the light and hope from the room.